Romantic Tales. Chapter 147. Zhu Lingling nodded. She said that she had had enough after all these years. Their love had died a long time ago. She wanted to emigrate to Canada with her 2 daughters, but that damned guy refused to divorce her. From this, it can be seen that the man you like is a scumbag. Even his wife begged another woman to persuade him to get a divorce, Huamin analyzed calmly. Zhu Lingling smiled bitterly. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Later I asked him why he lied to me. Why did he lie to me when he had a wife and children? Guess how he explained it to me. He must have said that he and his wife didn't have a good relationship and that they had no feelings for each other. His wife refused to divorce him no matter what, right? Then he told you to wait for him and that he would definitely marry you. After hearing Huamin's words, Zhu Lingling's eyes were filled with admiration. As expected of a genius. You can even think of that. He really said that. It was exactly as you said. If his wife hadn't called me, I would have been deceived by him. He was the one who refused to divorce her, but he said that his wife was the one who kept pestering him. Excuse me, Lingling. Can I ask why he didn't want to divorce his wife? They definitely didn't have any feelings for each other. Since they're still pestering each other, it's probably because of benefits, right? Is his wife very rich? Huamin guessed. Zhu Lingling was so excited that she almost rushed over and hugged Huamin. Her face was full of surprise. How did you know that? This is what I deduced. Huamin chuckled. You're right. His wife is very rich. Her income is higher than his and she owns many retail stores in the city. Even if she doesn't do anything, she can earn 5 million yuan a month just by collecting rent. No wonder. But I'm also curious. If she knew that he was having an affair and had evidence, the court would usually order a divorce. His wife shouldn't be so conflicted. Huamin was puzzled again. This is what I despised the most about him. He threatened his wife and hid their 5-year-old daughter. Because it was a matter between husband and wife, the police did not care. He was afraid that he would lose his money tree, so he used the child to threaten his wife. That's the worst kind of trash. Huamin sighed slightly. Man, why am I so unlucky? I think you should be happy after discovering the truth. You shouldn't be so suicidal. I'm happy. Zhu Lingling looked helpless. Isn't it good to discover this person's true colors as soon as possible and then take precautions against scumbags? If you fall deeper into his trap in the future, it will be a tragedy. Then, what should I do now? Zhu Lingling asked dejectedly. What else can we do? Of course we have to break up with him. Don't associate with him anymore. This kind of scumbag should get lost as far away as possible. But he doesn't agree. Are you stupid? So what if he doesn't agree? You're just dating. To put it bluntly, he's having an extramarital affair. It's not a legal relationship. He said that he loves me very much. Then if I tell you that Qin Chu told me that he loves you very much, would you believe it? Huamin looked angry. Zhu Lingling immediately shivered in fear. Are you kidding me? Sis, I can't afford to offend that god of yours. So, you don't believe in that kind of nonsense. I know. I just feel bad after spending so much time with him. That's normal. There are so many scumbags nowadays. Meeting a few of them is just a lesson. You learn from your mistakes. Just remember that in the future. Yeah, I learned a bloody lesson. I'll remember it, Zhu Lingling said with red eyes. So, you must take a shower and sleep. Then don't think about anything else. Oh, I'm still here. Go. It's too inconvenient to stay at your place. After speaking, Zhu Lingling was about to get up. However, Huamin stopped her. Qin Chu isn't home. Don't worry and stay here. It's good to have you here at a time like this. Zhu Lingling suddenly hugged Huamin and thanked him from the bottom of her heart. Don't be silly. We've known each other for so many years. Whenever something happens to me, aren't you the first one to jump out and protect me? Huamin patted her back and comforted her. Yeah, but I've never worried about you. As long as Qin Chu is here, nothing will happen to you. It was like this 7 years ago and it's still like this 7 years later. Mian, don't you think that Qin Chu treats you super well? I do. What about you? What do you think? Are you still planning to divorce him? Zhu Lingling asked softly. Upon hearing this, Huamin's eyes darkened slightly. Chapter 148. Okay, you can't even protect yourself right now, so let's not talk about me. Are you hungry? I'll make you something to eat. Zhu Lingling knew that Huamin's subconscious avoidance of the question meant that there was still something between her and Qin Chu. Yeah, I'm a little hungry. Can you make me some instant noodles? I don't have that kind of junk food at home. Hot soup noodles will do. I'll make it for you. Wait a moment. After speaking, Huamin put on an apron and went to the kitchen. With Huamin's company, Zhu Lingling calmed down a lot. She ate the noodles, took a hot bath and went to bed early. The next day she went out with Huamin. Huamin went to work but she went home. Before they left, Huamin reminded her worriedly, "Remember what I told you. Block all of his WeChat and phone numbers. Don't contact him anymore or else it'll be even more painful. Also, if you can't pull yourself out then you'll end up like his wife." I know, girl. Don't worry. Thank you for taking care of me all night. Cut the crap and go home. Call me if you need anything. After saying goodbye to Zhu Lingling, Huamin went to the first hospital. The work in the laboratory was very simple and not too busy because there were many people on duty. The people in the laboratory were very nice to Huamin and Huang Yu. Huang Yu was very happy. When she had nothing to do, she would gossip with Huamin. Hey Mian, the pregnant woman you operated on is going to be discharged tomorrow. Did you know? I heard that the baby is fine. Yeah, she's fine. When I passed by the neonatal department, I saw her baby. It's very healthy, Huamin said with a smile. In the end, she still has to thank you. If it weren't for you, she and the baby would be dead. But this pregnant woman is too unkind. She didn't even say a word of thanks from the surgery. It's as if it's something we should do. You can't blame her. She's very weak after the surgery. How could she care about that? Huang Yu immediately retorted, if she doesn't know how to say thank you, then what about her family? That man even knelt down in front of us that night. His words were even nicer than singing. Now that they heard that it was a girl, they didn't even see a ghost. I heard that today when she was discharged from the hospital, it was her maiden family who came to pick her up. None of her in-laws came. Huamian also lamented, these old ideas are really harmful. In the end, the poor ones are the women. If everyone has a boy, where will they find a wife in the future? Won't the human race go extinct then? Huamin smiled and didn't say anything else. Mian, your boyfriend's family is so rich. When you get married in the future, it'll be very grand, right? Huang Yu suddenly asked. I don't think so. We don't like to be too high profile. She thought back to the day when she and Qin Chu got their marriage certificate in a hurry. It wasn't grand at all. However, that was what she wanted. The fewer people who knew, the better. Once their relationship was made public, Qin Chu's mother and Su Xiaolan's mother would probably fight it out, and the world would fall into chaos. She didn't even dare to think about it. Just then her phone rang. She looked down and saw the caller ID. Her gaze softened. Jixin. Sis, I'm going back to school. Although it hasn't been a month yet, I feel a lot better. It's too boring to stay at home. Okay, be careful and rest well. I know, sis. I was just telling you because I didn't want you to worry. Then I'm going to class now. Come back for dinner this week. Don't forget Mom's birthday. I know. Huamin nodded. After hanging up, he was thinking about what he should get his mother for her birthday this week. However, he was startled by some loud noises. Huamin. Who the fuck is Huamin? Get the fuck out here. A few men yelled at the top of their lungs, attracting everyone's attention. Chapter 149. Senior, I think they're looking for you, Huang Yu muttered as she stood up and craned her neck to look out of the window. Huamin heard her as well. After all, it was rare for someone to have the same name as her. Therefore, if someone called out Huamin, they were definitely looking for her. At this moment, a few burly men walked over from not far away. Their faces were filled with anger. They ignored the security guard's advice and rushed to the entrance of the laboratory. Who's Huamin? Come out. The leader of the group was a man with a big head and a gold chain around his neck. I'm Huamin. Is there anything I can help you with? You're Huamin? The man confirmed again. Huamin nodded and looked at the four men in front of him. He did not know any of them. Then it's easy. We're the family members of the patient Yuan Finfin. I'm her elder brother. I heard that my sister was hospitalized a few days ago and had a cesarean section. You were the one who performed the surgery, right? Yes. Huamin was extremely calm. Are you a doctor? No. I heard that you're just a nurse and intern at that, right? Yes. Huamin nodded. Huang Yu secretly tugged at Huamin's sleeve to remind him to stop talking. You're a fucking intern at that. What right do you have to perform the surgery on my sister? Who gave you the guts? Are you using my sister's life as an experiment? Do you think she's a lab rat? The situation wasn't like that. It was an emergency and she was having a difficult labor. The baby was in breech position and she was bleeding profusely. I had no choice. I had to do it to save her and the baby. Bullshit. Haven't you heard of any hospital where a nurse performs surgery? Are all the doctors dead? Well, let me ask you, where did the doctors go in such a big hospital? The doctor wasn't there that night and it was too late to transfer to another hospital. You can ask your brother-in-law about this and he agreed to it, Huamin explained word by word. I asked my brother-in-law and he said he didn't even know you were a nurse. If he knew you weren't a doctor, then, even if my sister was in danger, he would never let you operate on her. Huamin's expression changed slightly when he heard this. At that time she remembered that when she asked the man to pay the surgery fee, she told him that the doctor on duty was not there. If she performed the surgery, it might be a little risky. However, at that time the man kept begging Huamin and wanted to call her mother. Now he changed his words and said that he did not know. This was really too interesting. Huang Yu was no longer calm. She stood up and said, "What do you mean? My senior sister and I were kind enough to save your family, yet you're saying this. Do you know that? If my senior sister didn't perform the surgery on your sister, she would be a corpse right now." Bullshit, don't think that we don't know that you're trying to fool us. You two little nurses wanted to use my sister as an experiment to satisfy your selfish desires. The despicable thing is that the hospital hid this for you. Let me tell you, my sister hasn't been discharged yet, but she's obviously not feeling well. If there are any side effects, you'll have to bear the consequences. I've checked your sister's condition. She's doing well and can be discharged soon. Impossible, my sister just said that she's dizzy and can't be discharged. Your hospital and an irresponsible and crazy woman like you who used patients for experiments must give my family an explanation. Explanation? What kind of explanation do you want? Huamin seemed to have understood the patient's family's motive. You and your hospital must compensate my sister accordingly. As expected, after hearing this, Huamin laughed. So, you brought people here today to blackmail me, right? Chapter 150. Woman, how can you say that? What do you mean by blackmail? This is a normal and reasonable compensation. Do you know that this is a medical accident? Not only are you responsible, but the hospital is also responsible. We've already consulted with a lawyer. Who pointed you in the right direction? Huamin could tell at a glance that these people were not educated and definitely did not know much. The pregnant woman and her child were recovering well, but they suddenly came up to make a scene. Someone must have given them an idea. Sure enough, after hearing Huamin's question, the leader, who called himself the pregnant woman's brother, immediately changed his expression. It's not like that at all. It's just that my sister is not feeling well right now. I wanted to talk to the chief surgeon, but there are so many doctors in the obstetrics and gynecology department, and they all said that it wasn't them who did the surgery. In the end, they said that it was a person called Huamin who did the surgery. But we've already asked around, and there's no such person in the obstetrics and gynecology department. You're just an intern nurse and you actually have the guts to operate on my sister. You damn woman, see if I don't beat you to death. After saying that, the man in the gold chain rushed forward, raised his hand and hit Huamin. But before his hand landed, Huamin grabbed his wrist tightly. Huamin's sudden burst of strength was amazing and the man's arm was in pain. This is a hospital and you can't use violence here. I'll let you know what the truth is. You said that the pregnant woman is not feeling well, but you need evidence, not just words. If you attack me personally without knowing the truth, then I have the right to call the police. Call the police? Okay, hurry up and call the police. Then I'll let the police arrest a black-hearted woman like you. Please, can you be reasonable? If it wasn't for my senior, would your sister still be alive today? We can't say for sure who's the black-hearted one here. Huang Yu was so angry that her face turned green. Shall you stop talking? Huamin stopped Huang Yu from arguing with the patient's family. At this time, the hospital's security also arrived and dragged the men out of the laboratory. Huamin, what happened? Chief Han from the laboratory walked over. Chief, there's something going on in the obstetrics and gynecology department. I think I have to go back and take a look. Then go quickly. Chief Han was very easy to talk to. He immediately approved Huamin's leave. Huamin and Huang Yu followed behind and headed towards the OB/GYN building. What she wanted to confirm the most was whether the pregnant woman had any complications. Obstetrics and gynecology building. Huamin bumped into the head nurse before he arrived at the hospital room. Huamin, I was just about to look for you. Is it about the pregnant woman? The head nurse nodded. That's right. I heard that the patient's family went to the laboratory to make a scene. Yes, they insisted that the patient was suffering from complications and dizziness and couldn't leave the hospital. Then they asked me and the hospital to give an explanation. The head nurse didn't look too good. She said in a serious tone, "This is troublesome. I thought that the patient was fine and that this matter would be over. I didn't expect that the patient's family would find out about it." Is there really anything wrong with the pregnant woman? Huamin felt that his surgery had been very successful. There shouldn't be any problems. The head nurse shook her head, pulled Huamin to the side and whispered, "It's not that simple. I've looked at the patient's data and she's fine. She can be discharged, but the patient insists that she's dizzy and not feeling well. We couldn't find anything wrong with her, so I suspect that this is a premeditated scam. Her husband, whom she hasn't seen for a long time, came last night, but I heard that he left after a short while. But today so many people came to make a scene." I see. Huamin nodded to show that he understood. Head nurse, what should we do now? Huang Yu was still young, so she was a little scared. Chapter 151. Don't worry. I've already reported this matter to the director. However, the director is out of town for a meeting and will be back in 3 days. So, I also told the pregnant woman that the director will be back in 3 days. We can't decide how to deal with it. Head nurse, I'm sorry I dragged everyone into this. Huamin felt guilty. She felt bad that her decision had brought so much trouble to the OB/GYN department. Let's not talk about this anymore. I understand that you were in a hurry to save people. Don't worry, if the pregnant woman is fine, no matter how much trouble they cause, it's useless. Although you're not a doctor, you performed a perfect surgery. All I can say is that you overstepped your authority. It's not like you committed murder, so don't worry. I'm not worried, I just feel sorry for everyone. If you really feel sorry for everyone, then pull yourself together and fight against these unreasonable family members, the head nurse scolded. I won't run away. Good. Head nurse, I want to see the pregnant woman in person and talk to her, Huamin said slowly. Hey, you can talk to her. As long as she has a conscience and is willing to let go, this will be easy. At most, we'll waive her hospitalization fees and surgery fees. I just hope that this won't continue. If the media finds out, it won't be good for the hospital. I know. Huamin's heart felt heavy. Although this was what she had expected, she still felt a little disappointed at this point. She saved people out of kindness, but she was bitten in return. It was like the story of the farmer and the snake. She didn't understand. As a mother, the pregnant woman knew that she had saved her and her child, but she wasn't grateful. Why did she have to work with her family members to blackmail her and the hospital? Was it so hard to be a good person these days? What did I tell you before? It's hard to be a good person, right? Huang Yu was also depressed. No matter what, I've never regretted saving that mother and daughter. The value of life can't be measured so easily. I'm willing to face all of this. Shall you leave this matter to me? You're just an assistant, don't get involved. I'm not afraid, senior sister. Although I don't have much ability and I'm just an intern nurse, I'll just quit. I'll definitely support you to the end and help you clear your name. I know, but I still don't want to drag you into this. I'll go to the delivery ward to see the pregnant woman first. You should hurry back to the laboratory. There has to be someone watching over there. After separating from Huang Yu, Huamin went directly to the ward where the pregnant woman was. Because of her special situation, she was arranged to be in a private ward. The environment was better and more private. After knocking on the door, Huamin walked in. The pregnant woman was playing with the baby in the crib. Her eyes were filled with the love a mother should have. However, the moment she saw Huamin, she immediately stopped smiling and the look in her eyes became complicated. Hello, I'm the one who performed the C-section on you. My name is Huamin. Can we talk? I have nothing to talk to you about. The pregnant woman turned her head away, not daring to look into Huamin's eyes. She was obviously guilty. Huamin smiled and didn't say anything. Instead, he walked gently to the crib and looked at the baby. She looked at the baby girl in the cradle. He's very cute. She looks just like you. The pregnant woman bit her lip and didn't say anything. He seemed to understand everything. It wasn't your intention to ask your brother to come to the hospital, right? Did your husband ask you to do this? How did you know? The pregnant woman looked up at Huamin in disbelief. Chapter 152. After she finished speaking, she realized her mistake and immediately corrected herself. What I meant was, how could you make such wild guesses? No one told me to do so, and I'm telling the truth. The truth? What kind of truth? Are you feeling unwell? Are you dizzy? Yes, it might be a complication after the surgery. After all, you're not a professional doctor, you're just a nurse. You used my life and my child's as an experiment. That's really despicable. Ms. Yuan Finfin, right? Medical equipment is very advanced these days. If you say that you're dizzy and have complications, we need to do a detailed examination for you. It's just like how many murderers insist that they're mentally ill after they kill someone. You can't just listen to one side of the story, you need evidence. After hearing what Huamin said, the pregnant woman fell silent. I know you're not that kind of person. As the patient involved, you should know what happened that night. You were bleeding profusely and desperately needed a blood transfusion. However, no one could operate on you at that time. Your husband knelt on the ground and begged for help. As the nurse on duty, I absolutely couldn't allow a patient to die in front of my eyes. The reason why I dared to operate on you was because I trusted my own skills. I also knew that if I did what I did at that time, there would definitely be a day like this in the future. I just didn't expect that as the patient involved, you would be so muddle-headed. I won't ask you to thank me, but I also don't want you to wrong me, understand? Do you understand? The pregnant woman seemed to be moved by Huamin's words. It was obvious that she was very conflicted. Huamin continued, I know that it's not easy for you as a woman. This is your second child, right? But your husband was very unhappy that you gave birth to a girl. Your in-laws didn't show up at the hospital either. The pregnant woman raised her head in surprise. She didn't know why Huamin's analysis was so accurate. I don't know much about your family, but from what your brother said, he kept talking about compensation. He must be using this incident to get a lot of money. I don't think your husband would do something like this alone. I heard that you guys even hired a lawyer. So I want to ask, who instigated this behind the scenes? The pregnant woman stared at Huamin, dumbfounded. It was as if every word Huamin said touched her heart. No one instigated it. It's not like what you said. Ms. Yuan Finfin, you have to have a conscience. I don't want to say anything excessive. I just want to tell you that God is watching over you. I really don't want anything in return for saving you and your child. But now you're making a false accusation against me in my hospital. So, I think you should stop before you go too far. If you want tens of thousands of yuan in compensation and you really need the money, I can pay you personally, but don't discredit the hospital. Our director is a very respectable old man. I don't want to cause trouble for him because of my personal heroism. Is that okay? Huamin knew that this family just wanted money. If he had to, he would have to fork out tens of thousands of yuan to settle this matter. But if it really blew up and escalated to the hospital's image, it wouldn't be good. He would feel very guilty. The pregnant woman seemed to be a little shaken. Her eyes flashed as she said, I don't want to do this, but I... Before she could finish her sentence, she heard the door suddenly open. Then her husband suddenly appeared at the door and yelled at Huamin, What are you doing here? Are you here to threaten my wife? You heartless nurse, I will sue you and your hospital. You want to get rid of us with just tens of thousands of yuan? In your dreams. Even the lawyer said that this time, if your hospital doesn't fork out a few million yuan, don't even think about stopping. That night, when you knelt down and begged me to save your child, this wasn't your attitude. Huamin looked coldly at the pregnant woman's husband. Chapter 153. The man seemed a little embarrassed as he scolded, Don't talk to me about these useless things. Anyway, get out of here and don't threaten my wife. My wife is suffering from serious complications right now. None of you can escape responsibility. So, you want to make a big deal out of this? Do you have to extort millions of dollars from us? Huamin asked coldly. Yes, we want the whole city to know about this. Okay, just don't regret it. Of course we won't regret it. Don't think that threatening us will work. We're not afraid of you. You're just a nurse who hasn't even finished her internship. I'll fight you to the death. Okay, I'll wait for you to fight me to the death. Huamin pursed her lips and turned to leave. As soon as she left, the man grabbed the pregnant woman from the bed and slapped her across the face. Are you fucking asshole? That woman is here. How can you talk nonsense? Aren't you afraid that she'll bring a recording pen? If all our plans go down the drain and I can't get the money, I'll fucking strangle you. The pregnant woman's husband had an ugly expression on his face. Honey, let's just forget about it. I don't want to continue like this. I feel very uneasy. She's a good person. He saved me and our daughter. She's our savior. We shouldn't treat her like this, the pregnant woman said as she sobbed. After hearing this, the man was not moved at all. Instead, he pointed at the pregnant woman and scolded, I'm telling you, don't ruin my business. Since things have already started, we will continue to do it. The hospital will definitely compensate us. When that time comes, we will be rich, do you understand? We'll be able to live the rest of our lives without any worries. But this kind of money shouldn't belong to us. The pregnant woman still wanted to argue. I should have killed you, a hen that can't give birth to a boy. You disgust me. Let me tell you, you have to listen to me. If you don't cooperate, I won't come back to this house. I'll divorce you. There are plenty of women out there, and there are even more who are willing to give birth to a son for me. When the time comes, you can take these two losers and go back to your mother's house. Upon hearing that they were going to get a divorce, the woman's eyes immediately filled with fear. Ever since she had married into this family, she had never thought of getting a divorce. After all, it was too difficult for a woman. All these years she had been doing the housework, while her husband had been working a part-time job. The salary was not high and the family had been living a tight life. The man and his parents had a traditional mindset of valuing sons over daughters. She had been very unhappy with her first child because she had not given birth to a son. It wasn't easy for her to get pregnant with her second child. When she did the ultrasound, it said that it was a boy. She didn't expect that it would be another money-losing thing. The man was furious. If it weren't for his plan to blackmail the hospital and Huamin, he wouldn't have shown up. If he had known that his wife had given birth to another girl, he wouldn't have knelt down and begged the nurse to save her that night. Therefore, the man's heart was extremely unbalanced. After some expert gave him advice, he immediately felt that this was a good idea. Therefore, they mobilized the relatives of both parties and came to the hospital to make a scene in order to ask for a sky-high compensation. How did it go? The head nurse asked with concern when she saw Huamin walk out. Huamin shook his head. They are very determined. They want the hospital to pay. Don't worry too much. Everything will be resolved when President Wu comes back, the head nurse comforted him. Huamin nodded. After he said goodbye to the head nurse, he headed towards the laboratory. The OB/GYN department had been unusually quiet lately. Apparently, Wu Xiaoxue was on vacation and had not come to work for a few days. It seemed like she was extremely unhappy with her previous punishment. However, President Wu had also announced that he would be leaving. If she didn't want to work, she could resign. The uncle and niece were not on good terms. Ning Ziyuan was also cold towards her because of Huamin's rejection. Not long after Huamin returned to the laboratory, it was time to get off work. Chief Han walked over and said softly, Huamin, you can leave through the back door after work. What's wrong? Huamin looked at Chief Han quizzically. It was as if the tragedy 7 years ago had destined their relationship to carry too many burdens. Perhaps Qin Chu knew that Huamin was staring at him, so he suddenly turned his head and looked into Huamin's eyes. He asked, Is the TV good? You'll know when you see it. Qin Chu looked up and suddenly felt embarrassed. It turned out that the TV show was actually Boonie Bears. If you don't like it, you can change the channel, he said. It's okay. I like it. After hearing Huamin's answer, Qin Chu was speechless again. Fine, he really found it hard to believe that someone with an IQ of 130 would actually watch children's cartoons. Then Qin Chu worked for about an hour before closing his laptop. Looking at Huamin, who looked a little haggard, he thought for a moment and asked, Do you want to go on vacation with me? Vacation? Huamin looked confused. Chapter 155. I have to go on a business trip to Taipei. My flight is tomorrow night. Do you want to come with me? Me? I don't think so, I have to go to work. Ask for leave, I'll be back in 2 or 3 days. No, I'm not in the mood, I can't have fun anywhere. Huamin shook her head and decided not to be a wet blanket. Things had just gotten out of control at the hospital. If she asked for leave and ran away, what would she do if those people went to the OB/GYN department to cause trouble, or if they went to Huang Yu? She couldn't leave them with a mess to clean up. Seeing that Huamin wasn't willing, Qin Chu didn't force her. He looked down at his watch. It was almost 8 p.m. Are you hungry? Do you want to eat something? Huamin shook her head. Did something happen at the hospital? Qin Chu couldn't help but ask upon sensing Huamin's depression. Nothing, maybe I'm not used to being in a new department. Huamin didn't tell Qin Chu everything that happened at the hospital, because she didn't want Qin Chu to worry about her. It was tiring enough for him to work at GK every day. Okay then, go to bed early, I'm going to go organize some documents in the study. Huamin went upstairs, took a shower and then lay in bed. Suddenly her phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number, and it rang for a while before Huamin picked it up. Oh. Are you Huamin? A man's voice sounded from the other end and Huamin thought it sounded familiar. Yes, I am. Who are you? I'm Lin Mingyu. Lin Mingyu? Huamin was a bit confused and she forgot who Lin Mingyu was. I'm the forensic doctor who went on a blind date with you last time, he emphasized. Oh, it's you. Huamin finally remembered this man. What are you doing? Lin Mingyu asked out of the blue. I'm going to bed. So early? I wanted to invite you out for a meal. Lin Mingyu was slightly disappointed. No, thank you for your kindness. Then, what's your WeChat ID? Can I add you? Lin Mingyu asked again. I don't really use WeChat, Huamin rejected again. I see. Alright, let's meet again another day. Then he hung up. Huamin remembered that he had never given him his phone number. He probably got it from the head nurse. There were already a lot of things to do in the hospital. How could they still care about other people? The next morning, Qin Chu had already prepared bread and warm milk. However, he was nowhere to be seen. After Huamin woke up, he took a simple bite and went to work. As soon as she arrived at the department, she was pulled aside by Huang Yu, who whispered, "Senior, our director is back." Isn't the director out of town for a meeting? Huamin was confused. Yeah, but he heard that something happened at the hospital, so he came back early. I heard that he will meet with the patient's family today to discuss how to deal with the situation. Hearing this, Huamin felt a little guilty. If it weren't for her decision, the hospital and President Wu wouldn't have been in so much trouble. At noon, when Huamin and Huang Yu went to the cafeteria, they inevitably became the target of other colleagues at the hospital. Here she also met an enemy, Wu Xiaoxue. Egomaniac, look at what happened. The entire hospital is in an uproar because of you. My uncle's meeting out of town was cancelled early because he had to clean up your mess. Wu Xiaoxue was sharp-tongued. She was furious when she saw Huamin. I'm very sorry about this, Huamin said calmly. What's the point of saying sorry now? You shouldn't have done it in the first place. I don't understand. You're a nurse who hasn't even completed your internship. Who gave you the guts to do this? Do you think the hospital is owned by your family? Chapter 156. Professor Wu, you can't say that. We were just anxious to save people, Huang Yu retorted. Even if you were anxious to save people, you should know your place. Don't you know your own status? Isn't it because you, an unreliable doctor on duty, skipped work in the middle of the night? Otherwise, do you think we were willing to take the risk to save people? Huang Yu was young and impulsive. She was not as calm as Huamin, so she started to argue with Wu Xiaoxue. The key was that Huang Yu was now in the laboratory, so she was not afraid of Wu Xiaoxue making things difficult for her. What do you mean by skipping work? I was not feeling well. I am pregnant. Do you know that? I'm a pregnant woman and I have to be responsible for my own safety. I didn't do anything wrong and the patient's family won't be able to find me. They can find whoever performed the surgery. You're so capable, so it's best for you to solve the problem you created. Don't hide behind the hospital like a coward and let my old uncle be your cannon fodder, okay? Wu Xiaoxue mocked. Don't worry. As long as it is my responsibility, I will not implicate the director. That's the best. After that, Wu Xiaoxue raised her head and walked past Huamin arrogantly. Damn, this woman is really good at finding excuses. She just got pregnant and she said she was not feeling well. Skipping work is skipping work and she is still looking for excuses. How can such an irresponsible person be a doctor? I really have to hand it to her. Since she is so delicate, she should just go home and rest. Why is she still working? Huang Yu was furious. Let her say whatever she wants. No matter what she says, I will not mind. Because she is someone I don't care about. Huamin was very clear about this. It was not worthwhile to be angry with someone like Wu Xiaoxue every day. Huamin was restless the whole morning. He did not know how the director would deal with it. In fact, if the director fired him, he would not mind. After all, he was wrong. She was afraid that she would implicate the hospital because of her personal behavior. If the hospital really compensated her with a few million yuan, she would feel very guilty. Director Han, is there any news? What should we do? Huamin kept asking the department head. How would we know about this? The director is in direct contact with the patient. In the afternoon, the head nurse made an internal call to Huamin. After briefly explaining the outcome of the matter, the hospital director met with the patient and the patient's family. There was no agreement. The director meant that the patient's surgery was a success and there was no infection at all. It was wrong for Huamin to operate on her own as a nurse, but she was also eager to save people. Therefore, the hospital decided to waive all the fees for the patient during the hospitalization period and give the patient 30,000 yuan as mental damage. Unexpectedly, the pregnant woman's husband exploded on the spot. Not only did he yell at the director, he even flipped over the table. It was impossible to dismiss them with just a few tens of thousands of yuan. It had to be at least 3 million yuan, not a cent less. In the end, the hospital director said, "Then let's go through legal procedures. You can sue and we will find someone to verify whether the patient is really infected. Whether from a moral point of view or a medical point of view, we will accompany you to the end. As long as the court awards us compensation, we are willing to take it." In the end, both sides fell through. In the end, the head nurse comforted, "The director has already consulted with our hospital's legal team. Even if we compensate, it won't be too much. The patient's family is obviously trying to blackmail us. We won't compromise. Don't worry. Head nurse, I'll resign. Tell the director to fire me. If the patient sues, let them sue me. I don't want to implicate the hospital," Huamin said calmly. As a century-old hospital, the first hospital had an excellent reputation and was deeply trusted by the local people. Huamin did not want everyone to know about this matter and ruin the hospital's reputation. Chapter 157. That won't happen. The dean will make the decision on this matter. I'm calling you to reassure you and not let your imagination run wild. Thank you, head nurse. Oh right, did my cousin call you? Last night he anxiously asked for your phone number. I already told him that you have a boyfriend, but he didn't seem to care. He did, Huamin admitted. Then just treat him as a normal friend. Did that guy fall for someone? He used to be so arrogant. The head nurse sighed. Okay. After hanging up the phone, Huamin's emotions became even more complicated. It was understandable that the hospital director and the patient's family broke down. After all, the family's goal was very clear. They asked for a few million at once. The hospital didn't do anything wrong, so they wouldn't agree to pay so much money. Most importantly, Huamin performed a perfect surgery on the patient. He even found the best obstetrician in the country. They wouldn't think that it was a medical accident and there wouldn't be any adverse reactions. The patient kept saying that she was dizzy, but she did it on purpose. Sometimes, it was really a headache to reason with unreasonable people. Huamin. Hearing someone call him, Huamin turned around. Chief Han. The hospital director just called and asked you and Huang Yu to avoid the patient's family for a few days. You can take a few days off and come back to work after this incident calms down a bit. Okay. Huamin nodded. Then Huamin and Huang Yu began to pack their things. Cursing sounds came from not far away. The hospital's security seemed to be in conflict with the patient's family again. They even alerted the 110. Huamin and Huang Yu left the hospital through the back door. Huamin didn't go home. Instead, he went to school to find his brother Jing Zhixin. At noon, Huamin and Jing Zhixin found a quiet place in the university cafeteria and sat down. Sis, don't you have to go to work today? Jing Zhixin saw his sister and was especially close to her. Yes, I haven't been too busy recently, so I took a few days off. Really, that's great. Jing Zhixin never doubted his sister's words. Looking at his younger brother's innocent smile, Huamin felt relieved. It's Mom's birthday tomorrow, so you can go there earlier. Why don't you come home with me tonight? Huamin shook his head. No, Mom will be in a bad mood if I go back. Actually, that's not it. Mom misses you very much too. He just doesn't say it out loud. She actually has a sharp tongue but a soft heart. For example, yesterday when I said that you would go back to her birthday party, she didn't say anything but she seemed quite happy. Huamin smiled and said nothing. I have an idea. What thoughts? I want to sell milk tea with my classmates at school. The milk tea at school is disgusting and expensive, so many of my classmates go out to buy it. However, it's inconvenient and it's a waste of time. I think I can sell it for cheap and it tastes good. Then I can make some money and pay for next year's tuition. I don't want you to work so hard to support my studies, Jing Jixin said in one breath. Huamin's heart suddenly ached. Jixin, it's not hard for me. I don't need money right now, so don't worry. You're still a student, so don't open a milk tea shop. Just study hard. When you're in your senior year, I plan to send you abroad for further studies. Oh no, it's too expensive abroad. You and Mom have worked hard to support me all these years. I'm a man, so I'll work and support the family after I graduate. I don't want to drag you guys down. That won't happen. Anyways, don't worry about money, I'll take care of it. It's Mom's birthday tomorrow. Have you thought about what to buy? Jing Jixin asked excitedly. Not yet, what about you? I used the pocket money you gave me to buy Mom a pair of leather shoes. Ah, look, don't they look old-fashioned? Jing Jixin turned on his phone, opened a website and showed it to his sister. They look pretty good. They're only 300 yuan, Mom will definitely like them. Yeah, I think so too. If you don't have anything else to buy, you can just order a birthday cake for her, Jing Jixin suggested. Huamin nodded. After leaving school on his way home, Huamin received a special phone call. The woman on the other end of the phone was serious and elegant. She said, Huamin, this is Jiang Hong. Can I meet with you? Jiang Hong. His heartless biological father's legal wife, the socialite of Sea City's prestigious Jiang family. Was Xiqian's crazy foster mother? Huamin suddenly felt conflicted. Chapter 158. Don't be afraid, I don't mean any harm. I'm not like Xinjiani. Jiang Hong was afraid that Huamin would be worried, so she added another sentence. Okay, where shall we meet? How about this, I'll send a car to pick you up. Jiang Hong was very cautious. She didn't tell him the location but instead asked the driver to pick Huamin up. Huamin waited for less than 10 minutes before a black Mercedes-Benz slowly stopped in front of her. Then the driver pulled her to a high-end women's club in the development zone. Huamin looked up. She knew a little about this club. Apparently it was a place where rich madams gathered. Normal people had no right to enter. It was rumored that the club was owned by Mrs. Hua. Today it seemed that the rumors were true. Because Jiang Hong was Hua Xiqian's foster mother, Huamin was extra careful. In her mind, she always felt that the mother and son were not to be trifled with. In comparison, the scheming Xinjiani and Hua Yanyan were much easier to deal with. She took the elevator to the 8th floor. In the innermost room, Huamin saw Jiang Hong. She was over 50 years old, but she took good care of herself. Her skin was very supple, and she wore a dark red cheongsam with dazzling pink diamonds on her wrist. Apparently, Jiang Hong and Hua Jinghai got married because of business. Over the years, Hua Jinghai had been involved in countless scandals and had many illegitimate children. In the end, he didn't divorce his wife. However, the fact that Xinjiani could marry into this family was quite impressive. Huamin, you're here. Have a seat, Jiang Hong said elegantly with a faint smile on her face. Huamin couldn't tell whether her smile was friendly or hostile, because this woman hid it too well. Okay. Huamin was very cautious as she carefully sat down. What would you like to drink? Jiang Hong asked. Plain water. You're a very down-to-earth child. Jiang Hong smiled and waved her hand. After a while, the waiter poured a glass of water and placed it in front of Huamin. However, Huamin had no intention of drinking it. Huamin asked for plain water out of respect for Jiang Hong, but it was up to him whether he wanted to drink it or not. All these years she had never allowed herself to drink things given to her by people she didn't trust. This was called self-protection. Jiang Hong understood what she meant and did not force her. Instead, she took the initiative to ask, I heard that you're a nurse at the first hospital. Yes. Are you used to it? Jiang Hong asked again. Yes, I quite like this job. Have you ever thought about coming back to this home? Jiang Hong picked up a glass of red wine and asked casually. I've never thought about it, Huamin replied firmly. Are you serious? Yes. You're quite special. What's wrong with coming back? I think you can at least have money and live a better life than you do now. When the time comes, you can even become a doctor, let alone a nurse. There's a way. Yes, it's good to have money. Can satisfy a lot of desires, but it's not that easy to get money. I don't think I have to have a share of the Hua family's fortune. Even if my surname is Hua, it doesn't mean I can't do anything. Plus, Mr. Hua didn't acknowledge my identity back then. Are you mad at him? Jiang Hong smiled as she looked at Huamin. He suddenly thought that this girl was quite interesting. No wonder her son always talked about this girl. I used to hate him when I was young, Huamin answered honestly. What about now? Jiang Hong asked with a smile. Chapter 159. I don't feel anything for him anymore. Hate is only possible when there is love. I don't love or hate the Hua family or Mr. Hua. I feel like a stranger to them. This is the first time I've heard you say that about your father. I don't think he's my father. I'd rather acknowledge my stepfather, Mr. Jing. Oh right. I heard he passed away a long time ago. How's your mother? She's doing very well. Thank you for your concern, Huamin said politely, but at the same time she sounded distant. Your mother is good. She raised you well. Other than the fact that you're dressed rather plainly, you're not inferior to Hua Yanyan, Jiang Hong commented. I'm just an ordinary citizen. I can't compare to a socialite. You're flattering me. Jiang Hong and Huamin chatted about their daily lives. He wanted to find a way to get to the main point. However, after chatting for a while, she realized that this young lady was too smart. Her answers were flawless and she couldn't find a single flaw in them. She didn't seem like someone in her 20s who was mature and calm. In the end, Jiang Hong couldn't help but ask, Huamin, do you know why I asked you to come here today? A little bit. Oh? Is that so? Tell me about it then. Jiang Hong's interest was piqued. She leaned back on the purple sofa and looked at Huamin expectantly. Huamin had taken off her nurse's white coat and was only wearing a white short-sleeved shirt and a black knee-length skirt. The combination of black and white was simple, but it looked good. She never dressed up as flirtatiously and brightly as Hua Yanyan. However, she always stood in the crowd so elegantly and calmly that it was unforgettable. Hua Xiqin had mentioned Huamin a few times. Jiang Hong had a deep impression of Huamin, especially during the wake. Faced with Jiang Hong's questioning, Huamin hesitated for a moment and slowly said, If I'm not wrong, Madam asked me to come here to ask me which side I'm on, right? Madam wants me to come home to help you and young Master Hua. If I don't agree, she's afraid that I'll side with Madam Shen and become your enemy. So, my existence has already caused a certain degree of trouble to Madam. After hearing Huamin's answer, Jiang Hong stared at her for a long time with a meaningful look in her eyes. After a while she sighed and said, You're really not a simple girl. It seems that I have guessed correctly. Huamin smiled. That's right. You're absolutely right. So which side are you on? I'm sure you're aware of the Hua Corporation's situation. My son, Xiqian, has taken control of most of the company's shares. Although Hua Zhenghai hasn't acknowledged you on the surface, he's actually been thinking about you, or rather. At this point, Jiang Hong purposely paused for a moment. Huamin continued her sentence. Or rather, he doesn't want to acknowledge me as his daughter. He's just afraid that Madam Shen's family will be taken advantage of, so he wants to drag me down with him and protect his son and daughter's shares. Yes, that's right. Jiang Hong nodded and looked at Huamin with undisguised admiration. But these are just your thoughts. Do you want to hear what I have to say? Huamin asked. I've never wanted to get involved in any war, so I don't want to choose a side at all. I haven't had any deep ties with any of your sides all these years, so whether it's you or Mrs. Shen, I won't interfere. That's what I mean. So you're saying that you're going to give up the shares that belong to you? Do you know how much it's worth? That's probably more than you can earn in your lifetime. Don't you like the life where you can get whatever you want? Having too much money isn't a bad thing, Jiang Hong reminded him. Chapter 161. Then Huamin quickly grabbed her bag from the sofa and threw it at the person who came in. After she saw who it was too late for her to stop. Qin Chu didn't think that Huamin would welcome him home like this. Luckily, he reacted fast enough and blocked it with his hand. Otherwise, his head would have been injured. Why are you back? Weren't you on a business trip? Huamin was shocked. It was cancelled last minute, Qin Chu said casually. He glanced at Huamin's bag and asked, "What's in there?" "It's really heavy." Huamin was extremely embarrassed. He coughed a few times and immediately hid the bag behind him. "Ahem, it's nothing. Just some daily necessities." As for the business trip, Qin Chu simply said that it was cancelled at the last minute. The truth was, the business trip was only supposed to last 3 days. However, when the Taiwanese company heard that GK's big boss was going there in person, they suddenly increased the itinerary by a lot in order to get GK to invest. The trip went from 3 days to 6 days. Including the time on the plane, it was a total of 8 days. Qin Chu thought about it. His face immediately darkened when he realized that he wouldn't see Huamin for 8 days. He immediately cancelled the trip to Taipei and drove to the neighboring city tomorrow morning to inspect the expansion project. When the Taiwanese company heard this, they panicked. No matter how much they tried to explain, Qin Chu refused to go. However, the Taipei project was an important project for GK because they did a lot of research beforehand. The board members and executives all thought that it would be a loss if the president didn't go. Unfortunately, no one dared to ask the president for a favor. They were all afraid that if they made the big boss unhappy, they would get into trouble. In the end, it was Assistant Yang who was brave enough to test the waters. "Sir, why don't we send someone else to Taipei?" "It's good. You can ask someone from the marketing department to go and take a look." Qin Chu sent the director of the marketing department to Taipei with just one sentence. On the other hand, when he got off work at 5 o'clock, he was almost smashed into a pig's head by Huamin. "Change your clothes and go out with me," Qin Chu said. "Where to?" Huamin was puzzled. He thought that it shouldn't be a business dinner. After all, she said that she didn't want their relationship to be made public. "Let's go and see Teacher Yao. I heard that she's going back to New Zealand." When Huamin heard that they were going to visit the teacher, he didn't say anything else. He immediately changed into a jacket and went downstairs with Qin Chu. Teacher Yao's family lived in an old house within the second ring road. This was the place that her previous workplace had allocated to her. After he retired, his daughter brought him to New Zealand for his retirement. Now that he had returned to China, he still liked to live here. Qin Chu had bought a lot of high-end nutritional products in the trunk. Huamin sometimes felt that Qin Chu was actually quite meticulous. He always thought of things that she didn't think of. Teacher Yao was very happy to see the two of them. Teacher Yao's auntie even prepared dinner for them. Although it was simple, it was delicious. Qin Chu and Huamin stayed to have dinner with Teacher Yao. During the dinner, they talked about a lot of things that happened in the past. In the end, Teacher Yao looked at Qin Chu and Huamin and said meaningfully, "The two of you remember that 100 years of love means crossing the sea together, and 1,000 years of love means sleeping on the same pillow. It's not easy for two people to be together. In my life, I only feel that the so-called true meaning of love is actually a cup of warm water when you have a cold, washed and dried clothes and blankets, trivial arguments and hugs when you are angry. When romance fades and passion fades, the warmth of daily necessities is also the most long-lasting confession. There are roses, there are confessions, but what love needs is a commitment, and more importantly, it requires persistence. When the sun has set, you will realize that the beauty of the past is still there." After Qin Chu and Huamin heard this, they were very moved. "Do you know why the divorce rate is so high now? Why were there so few in our era?" After Teacher Yao finished asking, the two of them shook their heads. Chapter 162. Because back in my day, people only thought about fixing things when they were broken. But in your day and age, everything is replaced when it's broken, including love. Just as Huamin was touched by the depth of Ms. Yao's words, Qin Chu suddenly interjected, "But I heard that in your day and age, people didn't dare to get a divorce even though they were clearly unhappy because of public pressure. In the end, many people died because of depression. But now, even though the divorce rate is high, people don't feel aggrieved anymore." Huamin. Ms. Yao. The two of them were instantly speechless by Qin Chu's words. In the end, Huamin was the first to react. He secretly pinched Qin Chu's thigh under the table and asked, "Ahem, where did you hear all this nonsense? Am I not telling the truth?" Qin Chu asked self-righteously. Huamin quickly and quietly tugged at the corner of his shirt. "Shut up." Although his voice was very soft, Ms. Yao heard him clearly. She smiled and said, "It's okay, Qin Chu is right. Back in my day, people were still very conservative. Some marriages were arranged by parents. Even though they weren't happy, they couldn't even think about getting a divorce. If they got a divorce back then, everyone would think that it was treacherous. Not only would the parents not be able to accept it, but they would also be drowned by the neighbors' saliva. Now that times have changed, young people like you have a better way of thinking. You should live happily. Life is short, so you shouldn't mistreat yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. I just want to say that no matter how times change, no matter how human nature changes, in the end, you should never forget your original intentions. Only by not forgetting your original intentions can you achieve success. After Qin Chu heard this, he seemed to be quite moved. Only by not forgetting his original intentions can he achieve success. That's right, Huamin had already become the goal of his life. He had never forgotten his original intentions. 7 years ago, Qin Chu was still a young and inexperienced teenager. He dared to say in front of his father, "I want to marry Huamin." Now that 7 years had passed, he had really married Huamin. To him, Huamin would always be his most treasured existence. After leaving teacher Yao's house for the first time, the two of them were not in a hurry to go home. Qin Chu drove the car to the entrance of Second High School. The two of them got out of the car and walked into the field. Second High was still one of the key high schools in the city. The students were all studying at night at this time. Only a few teachers and instructors were strolling around the field in 2s and 3s. The bright lights illuminated the entire school. On such a beautiful night, Qin Chu felt exceptionally peaceful. This place hasn't changed much. It's still so beautiful. Huamin sighed as he looked at the colorful lights at the edge of the basketball court. "Have you ever come back here after graduation?" Qin Chu asked. Huamin shook his head. "Other than the last time I ate with you at Oxin's Ramen, I haven't been here." Qin Chu looked at the school. His eyes were blurred and deep. He sighed slightly. "When I was in the United States, I dreamt of this scene countless times. Every blade of grass and every tree is deeply engraved in my memory." "You've always been a legend in Second High." Huamin pursed his lips. "I've long been forgotten. The glory is a thing of the past, but the legend continues. Those girls' crazy infatuation with you has never stopped." Huamin chuckled. At that time he saw those girls holding banners to express their love for Qin Chu. Even the slogans were so old-fashioned. "Qin Chu, our love for you was, as long as the small tree doesn't fall, we won't fall. If China moves, we won't move." After reading those words, Huamin was shocked. He dared to swear on his life that Qin Chu would never fall in love with those weird girls. "What about you? Were you crazy about me too?" Qin Chu suddenly turned his head. He looked at Huamin from a very close distance and asked seriously. Chapter 163. Huamin froze for a second before her memories came back to her. She vaguely remembered that she skipped a grade and only entered the school half a month after the first year of high school. Huamin was once the top scholar in the middle school exams and received invitations from many top high schools in the city and even the province. In the end, she chose Second High, which was close to her home and had good teaching. Apparently, the day she arrived, the school put up a banner and the principal personally welcomed her. Not only did he waive her 3 years of high school tuition, but he also paid for all of her expenses. He even paid for all her food and lodging expenses. This incident even made the local news headlines. At that time, Huamin's mother and Uncle Jing had always been proud of her. Huamin heard all kinds of rumors about Qin Chu on the first day of school. Apparently he was very arrogant and had countless fans. However, he looked at those crazy girls as if they were idiots. Apparently, Qin Chu had a serious obsession with cleanliness and no one was able to get within half a meter of him. At school, he had a table to himself and the front and back tables were very far away from each other. When he ate, he also had his own table. Of course, because GK sponsored the school with astronomical amounts of money every year, Qin Chu was a special existence at school. He even enjoyed godlike treatment and even the principal had to be courteous to him. That was until Huamin appeared. Huamin's appearance broke this rule. She was so reckless that she kicked the ball and sent it flying at Qin Chu's head. She almost disfigured her Prince Charming. When she was eating, she accidentally slipped and spilled the vegetable soup on Qin Chu. Most importantly, Qin Chu wasn't angry at all. Those girls were so jealous that they secretly said that Huamin did it on purpose and was playing hard to get. She wanted to be transferred to GK's prince, but no one knew that Huamin was extremely daring back then. Not to mention Qin Chu, she didn't even care about the most powerful people in the world. Back then she was so arrogant that she could fight those delinquent girls 1-on-4. She was so arrogant that she could beat up the big boy from the next class just to protect the reputation of the class. She was so arrogant that she never studied and often skipped classes to go out and play. She was still able to get first place in her year every time. She was so arrogant that she didn't care about anyone, even if that person was Qin Chu, the heir of GK. Huamin coughed dryly and replied, "Ahem, I wasn't one of those people. I was just a passerby to you back then, not a fan." "Do you know what I was thinking when I first saw you?" Qin Chu asked as he smiled at Huamin. Huamin smiled and said, "You must be wondering how this little thing managed to sneak in." At that time Huamin was only 14 years old, younger than the other children in her class. At that time, second high school only accepted students at the age of 17 because the learning tasks were too heavy. They were afraid that children who were too young would not be able to keep up. However, Huamin was an exception. She was able to get first place in the middle school entrance exam with almost full marks, so second high school made an exception and accepted her. During the interview, Huamin said something that was extremely arrogant. At that time, a reporter asked her provocatively, "First place in the middle school entrance exam isn't that big of a deal, it's just full marks. I also got 90 points in the middle school entrance exam for math and English. 90 points and 100 points aren't that big of a difference." Then Huamin said something that was extremely shocking. She said, "I got 100 points because that's all there are on the exam paper, and you got 90 points because that's all you can do. There's no comparison." At that time, the reporter was embarrassed by Huamin's interrogation. Qin Chu was attracted to this interview the first time he saw it on TV. He raised his hand and placed it on Huamin's shoulder. He looked into her eyes and said word for word, "When I first saw you on TV, I thought, this girl is definitely going to be my wife." Huamin didn't expect Qin Chu to say something like this, and her face immediately turned red. While she was still in a daze, Qin Chu elegantly lowered his head and kissed her. Chapter 164. Huamin's IQ and EQ were both high, but there was only one small flaw. When facing Qin Chu, she would occasionally lose her ability to think. This was also the reason why Qin Chu was able to pursue her back then. She always felt that everything was destined. No matter how rational she was, no matter how perfect she was, she would be vulnerable in front of Qin Chu. Therefore, when facing Qin Chu's kiss, she wanted to resist, but she couldn't exert any strength at all. Or rather, in her heart she didn't want to avoid it all. She just wanted to greedily possess him and occupy his unique scent. It was the break time after class, and the school's radio would play some songs to relieve everyone's stress. A melodious voice sounded, "Back to the beginning, your young face in my memory, we finally arrived at this day. Old photos under the table, countless memories connected. Today the boy was going to meet the girl for the last time. Back to the beginning, standing blankly in front of the mirror. Clumsily tying the knot of the red tie. Combing my hair into an adult style, changing into a handsome suit. When I see you later, you will definitely be more beautiful than I imagined. I really want to go back to those years in front of the classroom seat, deliberately asking for your gentle scolding. The arrangement on the blackboard, can you bear to solve it? Who sat with whom he loved her. Those years of missing the heavy rain, those years of missing the love. I really want to hug you, hug the courage that I missed. I once wanted to conquer the world, but in the end I realized that the world was all about you. Those years of missing the heavy rain, those years of missing the love. I really want to tell you that I didn't forget. That night the sky was full of stars, the promise made in a parallel universe. When we meet again I will hug you tightly, hug you tightly." The song Those Years by Huaxiao was especially suitable for the occasion. Everything was just right. Huamin was a sensitive woman, and at this moment she was especially moved. Thinking back to those years with Qin Chu, her hands couldn't help but hug Qin Chu's broad back, hugging him tightly. They had indeed missed 7 years, but how many 7 years could there be in life? Feeling Huamin reach out to hug him for the first time, Qin Chu's heart rippled. This gentle kiss lasted for 3 minutes and 50 seconds, which was exactly the time for a song. Then Qin Chu held Huamin's hand and silently walked out of the campus. The two of them didn't speak along the way. When they got home, Huamin felt a little sleepy, so she went back to the bedroom to take a hot shower. To her surprise, as soon as she came out of the bathroom, Qin Chu threw her onto the bed. "Qin Chu." Huamian was nervous. Mian, I don't want to wait. Huamian's eyes when she to was Huamin was Hua was to was to sleep to sleep. Qin Chu I don't. Before Huamin could finish her sentence she was drowned in Qin Chu's forceful kiss. This time it wasn't as gentle as when they were at school. Instead he invaded her forcefully, not giving her any room to think. Huamin felt her brain go blank and she didn't have time to think. Everything was under Qin Chu's control. It had been a while since they registered their marriage. Other than kissing, the two of them didn't seem to have any further intimate contact. Qin Chu naturally thought so. After all, his feelings for Huamin had always been clear. Huamin, on the other hand, had always felt conflicted about Qin Chu because she didn't want to spend the rest of her life with him. She also wanted to divorce him in the future, so she tried her best not to give him too much. Huamin had always felt that if a woman gave her body and heart to someone, then she would lose completely. She didn't even have a way out. Therefore she had always been reserved with Qin Chu. Under the night sky, Qin Chu looked at Huamin beneath him and felt an urge that he had never felt before. He knew that at this moment desire had won over reason. Chapter 165. Just as Qin Chu was about to make his next move, Huamin's phone rang. Qin Chu wanted to pick it up and throw it on the floor, but Huamin grabbed it first. She pushed Qin Chu away and awkwardly stood up. She picked up the phone and walked out the door. Qin Chu's face turned ugly. Hello, Lingling. What's wrong? You sound a little weird. Oh. Huamin felt guilty. That's impossible, I've known you for so long, you can't lie to me. Are you and Qin Chu doing something inappropriate? Zhu Lingling smirked. I think your breakup is over, you don't look like you're trying to get over it anymore. Huamin was speechless. Of course, who am I? I'm Zhu Lingling, the most beautiful girl in the world. I just flew back and have 2 days off. I'll come find you tomorrow and take you out for a walk. Let's go eat fish at a nearby farmhouse and go for a walk, okay? Tomorrow? Not tomorrow, it's my mom's birthday. How about the day after tomorrow? Right, I forgot. It's Auntie's birthday. Okay, let's go the day after tomorrow. After hanging up the call with Zhu Lingling, Huamin felt a little embarrassed and went back to his room. Qin Chu was leaning against the bed and smoking. Lingling told me she wanted to go for a walk. Huamin explained. Tell Zhu Lingling to get her ass over here right now. I promise I won't beat her to death, Qin Chu said angrily. It's late, good night. So you want to kick me out? Qin Chu asked as he glanced at Huamin. But isn't this my room? Huamin looked helpless. Qin Chu immediately asked, Aren't you my wife? Huamin, so, are you planning to stay here and not leave? As compensation you have to sleep in the same bed as me tonight. Of course, if you think your bed isn't big enough, you can sleep in my room, Qin Chu said confidently as he flicked the ash off his cigarette. Huamin was furious, but he couldn't find a reason to refuse. However, she understood. If it wasn't for Zhu Lingling's phone call, Qin Chu would have succeeded. The duck that was right in front of his mouth flew away. It was already impressive enough that he wasn't going crazy. In the end, Huamian decided to compromise and said, Deal. And so, Qin Chu began to occupy Huamin's bed. This was the first time she slept in the same bed as Qin Chu. She wasn't used to sleeping in his arms. It was different from the last time. Last time they snuck in the middle of the night. This time they were face to face. Although they broke through the last line of defense 7 years ago and tasted the forbidden fruit, they were still young. They were still young back then and they were both drunk. Now they were reminded of the scene back then. No one would be able to remember it. Huamin was too embarrassed to look at Qin Chu's face, so she flipped over to the other side. Qin Chu took the opportunity to hug her waist from behind. She was so nervous that she almost died. Qin Chu, I'm telling you, don't touch me. I'm ticklish, Huamin warned. Don't worry, I won't do that. I'll feel worse than you. After a quiet night after breakfast, Qin Chu went to work while Huamin went to the mall. After spending 1,000 yuan to buy a dress for her mother and ordering a cake, Huamin took a taxi home. As soon as she walked in, she smelled the aroma of food. The yard was full of people, all of whom were good neighbors. Mian, you're back, the neighbors greeted her. Yang Mirong heard the sound and turned around. She glanced at Huamin and asked with a straight face, Don't you have to go to work today? Chapter 166. Yeah, because I was transferred to another department. The hospital gave me 3 days off. Oh, you were transferred? Where are you now? The neighbor, Auntie Wu, asked enthusiastically. Huamian smiled and replied, I'm in the laboratory. I only need to draw blood for test. That's good, that's easy. I told your mom a long time ago not to let you work in the OB/GYN department. The responsibility is too heavy. Those pregnant women are all spoiled, and if you don't take care of them well, they'll definitely find fault with you. It's good that you were transferred. Yeah, it's relatively easier here and I don't have night shifts anymore. Mian, why didn't your boyfriend come with you? The neighbors loved to gossip, and a few aunts who were close to Huamin's mother asked at once. I broke up with him already. What? You broke up? Didn't you hear that you were getting married? Why did you break up? Sure enough, this piqued the aunt's interest. Huamin was a bit embarrassed and didn't know what to say. Just then Jing Jixin walked out of the room and took the cake from his sister's hand, saying, young people nowadays don't have a reason for breaking up. They just don't think their personalities are compatible. But isn't that guy a doctor? His job is pretty good, isn't it? The aunts seemed to think that it was a pity that Huamin broke up with Ning Ziyuan. What's so good about it? Even though he's a doctor, he's only an intern, and he might not even become a full-time employee. Plus, that guy's temper doesn't match my sister's, and when they were discussing marriage, a lot of details couldn't be handled properly, so they decided to break up peacefully. Oh, so that's what happened. Jing Jixin's answer for his sister was pretty good. The aunts were speechless as well. Soon Yang Meong brought out the dishes she had made. There were 8 in total, and in the middle was the cake that Jing Jixin ordered for Huamin. Other than Yang Meong, Huamin, and Jing Jixin, there were 3 other aunts. Auntie Wu was close to Yang Meong. The other 2 were a bit worse, and Huamin didn't like them very much. It was not because they were poor, but because most of them were just ordinary citizens. She liked to take advantage of others, liked to gossip about other people's affairs, and was also snobbish. She especially looked down on poor people. Auntie Wu had a son who was already 30 years old but still had no girlfriend. It was because Auntie Wu's family was a little rich. They had 2 houses in the city and a retail store. Her son also worked in a bank. Therefore, he had gone on dozens of blind dates, but none of them were successful. Most of the time, it was because the girl's family background was not good enough. Mom, happy birthday. Huamin took out the dress he had bought and handed it to her. When Aunt Wang saw the sign, she asked, Hey, isn't this brother? This brand is not cheap. How much did you pay for it? Mian. Not much. How much is not much? Aunt Wang asked relentlessly. More than 1,200. 1,200 isn't much? Your monthly salary is only 2,000, right? See. You actually bought such an expensive dress. Auntie Wang's words revealed her disdain for Huamian. Yang Meong took the dress, looked down and casually said, That's why it's good to have a daughter. She earns 2,000 a month, but she can spend 1,200 on a dress for me. She's not like some people who have sons. Their sons earn 10,000 a month, but they can't even afford to buy anything for their mothers. Auntie Wang heard this and immediately felt embarrassed. She didn't say anything else. She heard that her son didn't even call her on her birthday a while ago. He probably forgot. Apparently, her son came back from abroad from Singapore. He worked in a foreign company and earned 15,000 a month. Sister, you have a good life. Both your children are filial. Jixin went to school and saved money to buy you shoes. You didn't dote on them for nothing, Auntie Wu said, trying to smooth things over. Just then Auntie Lu said, It would be even better if your old Jing was still here. The whole family would be happy. What a pity. Upon hearing Uncle Jing's name, Huamin's eyes reddened. She felt a little depressed. Chapter 167. Huamin thought that his mother would give him a cold look when she mentioned the sad past. However, to his surprise, Yang Meong only pouted and said, He's been dead for so long, why bring him up? We're happy today, so let's eat and drink well. Since Yang Meong said so, the other 3 aunts didn't say anything else. During dinner, Huamin went to the kitchen to get more food and Jing Jixin quietly followed him. Sis, don't mind what those gossipy aunts said. They're just that kind of people, they love to gossip. I know, I didn't mind. That's good. Sis, you don't seem very busy these days. Jing Jixin looked at his sister and asked. Yeah, the hospital gave me 3 days off, so I'm pretty free. That's good. Since you don't have to go to work tomorrow, why don't you stay over tonight? You haven't stayed over in a while. Jing Jixin's eyes were pleading. He really liked his sister. When they were young, they often played hide and seek under the old tree in the yard. When they got tired, they would lean against the tree and fall asleep. His sister would also tell him Grimm's fairy tales. His sister was a genius. Jing Jixin couldn't even recognize the words in those thick Grimm's fairy tales, but his sister could recite them backwards. He always thought that his sister was his greatest pride. Even when his biological father, Jing De, died because of his sister, he never blamed her. Huamin always thought that her brother was a warm man. His smile was bright and carefree, so she really wanted to protect him. Especially after Uncle Jing passed away, she didn't want Jixin to suffer. Huamin thought about Jing Jixin's request and nodded in agreement. That's great. Jing Jixin was ecstatic. After dinner, the aunts left and Huamin followed her mother to clean up. While washing the dishes, she quietly said, "Mom, Jiang Hong came looking for me a few days ago and asked if I wanted to go back." "What good could she possibly want from you?" "It's about the internal strife in the Hua family. The fight between the main family and the second family has reached its climax. That's for the best. It'll be better if he dies randomly and piss off that heartless jerk." Yang Meirong was filled with resentment at the mention of Hua Jinghai. Back then she had been in the entertainment industry. She should have had a bright future ahead of her, but she didn't expect to be ruined by this heartless man. In the end, the child she gave birth to was not acknowledged. This allowed the vixen Xinjiani to take advantage of the loophole. "I won't go back. I don't want the Hua family's property and I don't want to talk to anyone in the Hua family," Huamin said. Yang Meirong's hand paused slightly as she turned to look at Huamin. "It's rare for you to be so open-minded. Mom, I don't want to go through what you went through all those years ago. There's nothing good about being rich. With more money comes more worries. I just want to spend the rest of my life with you and Jixin in peace. When Jixin gets married and has kids, I'll take you to the south for a vacation. We'll see the great rivers and mountains of our motherland." Huamin's words truly moved Yang Meirong. Ever since Jing De died, she had been venting her anger on her daughter. The truth was she didn't really hate her daughter. She just didn't know how to face the cruel truth. "You're not young anymore. You'll get married one day. Keep your eyes open and find an honest man to live with. Don't find a rich man. Not only will he look down on us, but our relationship might not be stable either." Hearing his mother's words, Huamin felt a deep sense of guilt. If his mother knew that he was married to Qin Chu, she would probably go crazy. "Mom, you're not in good health. Why don't we close the convenience store? We can sell the house and live in the city. You can enjoy life there." Huamin wasn't under so much financial pressure now. He wanted his mother to sell the house and make a down payment for a new house so that they could live together. Chapter 168. "It's fine, I've gotten used to living here and I don't want to move to a new house. I'm familiar with the neighbors here and even though your aunts have bad mouths, they're good people. When your Uncle Jing wasn't around, they took care of the three of us. I like living here. When you and Jixin start your own families, you can come back more often if you want. If you don't, I won't feel bored." Yang Meong seemed to be very open-minded. I'm sorry." Huamin lowered her head guiltily again. "It's fine, I can't blame you for this. A few days ago I went to the temple to burn incense and listen to an eminent monk preach. I'm not very educated, so I didn't understand the profound stuff. I only understood that in life, everything has its cause and effect. Your Uncle Jing's death might have been predestined. Even if he didn't protect you, who knows when another disaster would befall you." "Mom." Huamin didn't think that her mother, a commoner, would talk about Buddhism. She seemed to understand it quite well, and the knot between her and her mother seemed to have been untied a lot. At least her mother wouldn't continue to hate her for Uncle Jing's death. This made Huamin feel a lot more relaxed. "You should work. Even though it's not very good, your salary is enough to support you. You don't have to always give Jixin money. I've saved a lot over the years and Jixin will graduate in a few years. We'll help him find a wife and start a family." "Mom, don't worry, I'll help Jixin get married and buy a house. Just help him as much as you can. He's a boy, so he needs to have some ambition. He knows our family situation." "He won't, Mom. Jixin is a good boy, he never spends money recklessly." Ever since Uncle Jing passed away, Huamin hadn't had such a peaceful conversation with her mother. It had been a long time since she felt touched. At night, Jixin was so excited that he refused to go to sleep. He chatted with Huamin under the rocking chair in the yard. Just then she received a WeChat message. Huamin picked up her phone in a panic and glanced at it. It was from Qin Chu. Where are you? Qin Chu asked. I'm at home, she replied curtly. I'm at home too, why don't I see you? Qin Chu thought she was at Imperial Park. I'm at my mother's house. Today's my mother's birthday, so I'm not going back tonight. I'm staying here. Okay. Qin Chu knew where she was. He had planned to take Huamian to a new seafood restaurant in the north of the city, but she was nowhere to be seen when he got home. Since Qin Chu's assistant Yang, who was about to get off work, was shocked when he saw the big boss return. It's okay. I'll work overtime. Jixin Huo with Jixin Hua Ti Jixin want to see Jixin Ti. After all, Jixin would hate him if he stood her up. What's the matter? Qin Chu asked when he saw Yang's conflicted expression. President Qin. I heard there's a new movie that's pretty good, Yang said slowly. So? Qin Chu looked at Yang and asked. So can I go watch a movie with my wife? She already bought the tickets. If I don't go, she'll kill me. It was obvious that Yang was scared of his wife. If she finds out that you might be fired because of a movie, will she still kill you? Qin Chu asked faintly. Yang wanted to cry. President Qin, please don't. Which movie theater? Qin Chu asked. The one in Wanda Plaza, First Ring Road. Assistant Yang replied bitterly. Qin Chu stood up. Let's go, I'll drive you. What? Yang was dumbfounded. He thought he was hallucinating. Chapter 169. Why aren't you leaving yet? Do you want to work overtime? Qin Chu asked coldly. No, I don't. Assistant Yang wondered if his luck was off the charts today. He couldn't believe that his boss would personally drive him home. But here was the problem. If he got into his boss's Maybach, what about his Volkswagen CC? It was easy to park his car at the company, but what about going to work tomorrow morning? Did he have to take the bus? But none of that was a problem. The problem was that he was lucky enough to get a ride from his boss. Of course, he didn't know that his boss was bored because his wife was at home. That was why he wanted to give him a ride. He was also giving him a ride because he wanted to watch a movie. When they arrived at the entrance of the theater, Assistant Yang's wife was surprised to see another man. She asked quietly, Who is this? Our boss. President. President Qin? Assistant Yang's wife couldn't remain calm. Assistant Yang nodded. Boss Ha, we're here. You should go back, we're going in, Assistant Yang said politely at the entrance of the theater. I want to watch too, go buy a ticket. After speaking, Qin Chu took out a few hundred yuan from his wallet and handed it to Assistant Yang. It's not that much. Assistant Yang suspected that his boss had never watched a movie before. How could he not know the price of a ticket? However, Yang returned dejectedly after a short while. The reason was that there were no more tickets. The theater was full. Boss Ha, why don't you go watch something else? Captain America is playing next door. It's really good. Then what are you guys watching? Beijing meets Seattle 2. My wife likes to watch romance. I can't help it, Assistant Yang said helplessly. Then I want to watch that too, Qin Chu said stubbornly. Assistant Yang was stumped. There were only 2 tickets. If his boss insisted on watching it, then he had to give it to him. However, he couldn't let him and his wife watch it. He wasn't worried that his boss would seduce his wife, but he was worried that his wife wouldn't be able to resist the temptation and seduce his boss. In the end, Assistant Yang clenched his teeth and negotiated with his wife. That was, Xiao Yang accompanied his boss to the cinema to watch Beijing meets Seattle 2. Yang's wife gritted her teeth and went next door to see Captain America with tears in her eyes. As a Chinese housewife, she had no interest in American blockbusters, but she had no choice. Who told them not to offend the boss? After watching the movie, Qin Chu was in a good mood and drove the couple home. He even gave little Yang's baby a greeting gift. A red packet of 10,000 RMB. Xiao Yang's wife couldn't close her mouth as she held onto the red packet. She had already forgotten about the movie tickets being stolen. She kept saying, Your boss is really nice. He's super square. Yang rolled his eyes at his wife and replied, I don't know who was the one who secretly called him a third wheel for stealing your movie ticket, but now you're saying that he's not bad. Women really don't mean what they say. Of course, the movie tickets are only a few bucks, Yang's wife said proudly. On the way home, Qin Chu was in a good mood. It was her first time watching a romance movie. Although Yang was sitting next to her, the scene was a little awkward. However, he felt that the movie content was good, so he drove home in one go and found Seattle first on his computer. He also felt that it was good. He suddenly thought, when Huamin comes back tomorrow, should I take her to watch Seattle again? Just as he was thinking, a local news article popped up on his computer and caught his attention. The patient had no choice but to take the hospital to court. The patient's family members were agitated and made a scene at the first hospital today. All the hospital's security guards were mobilized and the hospital was left empty. It caused chaos for a while and people seeking medical treatment were greatly affected. The nurse in question did not show up, and President Wu Zhongxing did not give any response. According to our observations, this is the first time in the first hospital that a scandal has broken out in the past 15 years. Everyone in society is paying attention to this matter. We will continue to follow up and report, so please continue to stay tuned. After turning off the computer, Qin Chu frowned slightly. This time Huamin was in a bit of trouble. Once the news was exposed, most situations would be difficult to control and the consequences would be unpredictable. He picked up his phone and immediately dialed a number. Suppress this incident at the first hospital within half an hour. Don't let any media report it. At this time Huamin was still asleep and had no idea that the outside world was in chaos. Chapter 170. After Qin Chu put pressure on the media, things quieted down quite a bit. However, someone opened a SMUF account and exposed the incident on the #1 forum. In this era of the internet, there were many netizens and the #1 forum was a popular forum to begin with. As soon as the post came out, people immediately started to follow the trend. In the end, the incident still spread. The person who posted the post used the identity of the patient's family to expose the dark side of the #1 hospital, where the nurse pretended to be a doctor to cheat money. They also pointed out that the TV station should have reported it, but the hospital used their connections to suppress it. It was obvious how dark this incident was. They didn't know that the #1 hospital didn't use their connections to suppress this incident for Huamin. It was her husband, Qin Chu, who cared about his wife and was afraid that his husband would be attacked by public opinion, so he did it. Therefore, the post was titled, "The #1 hospital is heartless. Nurses perform surgeries on pregnant women. Mastermind suppresses media. Citizens have no way to complain." Now, such a detailed post instantly attracted the attention of all walks of life, including many departments in the city bureau. The Ministry of Health even called the director of the #1 hospital, Wu Zhongxing, over and over again to ask about the incident. Huamin only slept at home. When she woke up, she realized that the weather had changed. When she was asleep, she was afraid that it would affect her sleep, so she had a habit of turning her phone on silent. Therefore, when she picked up her phone in the morning, she almost thought that the system had crashed. There were more than 100 missed calls, countless text messages and countless WeChat messages. "Mian, something big happened, where are you? Why can't I get through to you?" This was from Huang Yu. "Huamin, call me back, it's urgent." This was from the head nurse. "Girl, did you see the news? I think your hospital was on TV, I even heard your name mentioned, what happened?" This was from Zhu Lingling. Huamin casually scrolled through her phone and saw that there were a few calls from Qin Chu. It seemed like something really happened, or else there wouldn't be so many people looking for her. "Sis, you're up." Jing Zhixin walked in and handed a cup of warm milk to Huamin. "Yes. Sis, there's something I don't know if I should tell you." "What's wrong?" Huamin frowned when he saw his brother's hesitant expression. Jing Zhixin thought for a moment, then handed his phone over to Huamin and showed him his WeChat moments. It turned out that news spread very quickly these days. That post had spread all over the local circle of friends. There were even people who threatened to hunt down the nurse named Huamin. A few of Jing Zhixin's friends knew that Huamin was Jing Zhixin's sister, so they sent him the link early in the morning. After seeing it, he was in a bad mood. He was afraid that his sister would be sad, but he was also afraid that his sister would get hurt. However, he knew that this matter could not be concealed. His sister would find out sooner or later. After calmly reading the message, Huamin returned the phone to his brother. "Sis, what's going on? I don't believe that you would do something like that. Someone must be trying to frame you, right?" To be honest, Huamin wasn't surprised at all when he found out about this. After all, the pregnant woman's husband had already made it clear that he would fight Huamin to the death. Therefore it wasn't strange that it was exposed. However, she was curious as to why the media didn't report such a big incident. Instead, it spread through WeChat moments. Don't worry, it'll be fine. I'll take care of it. Huamin got up and washed up as usual. Then he said goodbye to his mother and brother and left the house. When Huamin arrived at the first hospital, he saw from afar that the entrance was filled with people blocking the way. They were holding huge banners saying things like, "Black-hearted hospital, black-hearted nurse, give me back my health, give me back my justice." Just as Huamin was about to walk over, someone suddenly pulled Huamin to the side. Huamin turned around in horror. Chapter 171. Mia, why are you here too? I was just about to go look for you, Huang Yu said mysteriously. How could I not come when something this big happened? Looks like you already know? Huamin nodded. Then what should we do now? I'm a little scared. I didn't think that things would get so out of hand. My friends are all asking me about it. Even though they didn't mention my name, I'm still worried. Huang Yu was still young, so she started to panic when something happened. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. I'm going to go look for the head nurse right now. Then I'll go with you. Let's go through the back door, not the front door. After speaking, Huamin and Huang Yu were about to go around the back door. Suddenly, someone shouted. Look, the nurse is over there. Suddenly, a large group of people surrounded them. Some of them were brought by the patient, while others were tabloid reporters. The official media didn't dare to report this, but it was inevitable that some people would surround them and dig up dirt on them for profit. You must be Huamin. As the person involved in this incident, what do you have to say? They're twisting the truth. The truth isn't like that. There's nothing wrong with the patient. The family is making a scene because they failed to extort compensation, so they're trying to smear our hospital's reputation, Huamin calmly explained. Just then, the patient's husband pointed at Huamin and scolded, Don't slander us. Who's smearing your reputation? Everything I said is the truth. You black-hearted nurse. You obviously don't have a doctor's license, but you pretended to be a miracle doctor and operated on my wife. Now both my daughter and my wife are suffering from complications. Not only is your hospital not giving us an explanation, you're even trying to shirk responsibility. What's most infuriating is that Metropolis Daily promised to do an interview with us to expose your methods, but your hospital found someone to suppress it. How are we, the citizens, supposed to live from now on? Everyone, please be the judge. The man's words seemed to have been discussed at home. At a time like this, coupled with his vivid expression. Without a doubt, many people believed it. Huang Yu was so angry that her face turned red. She replied, You're lying. What you're saying is obviously wrong. You tried to extort millions from our director before, but he refused, so you slandered him. You'll get retribution for doing this. Then, Miss Huamin, may I ask, are you a nurse in this hospital? A young reporter took the opportunity to ask. I am. You're a nurse in the OB/GYN department, right? Yes. Huamin nodded. Were you the one who performed the surgery on the pregnant woman? There wasn't any doctor present, was there? Huamin hesitated for a moment. She knew that this was a crucial question. Once she answered, it would be tantamount to admitting everything. When the time came, it would directly trigger the explosive point. But if he said otherwise, he would be lying. Huang Yu nervously pinched Huamin as if to tell her not to admit it. After all, there were too many people here and there would be trouble in the future. But Huamin still felt that he didn't want to lie. That's right, that's right. After Huamin admitted it personally, the crowd went wild. Everyone was blaming her and yelling, You're a black-hearted nurse, how could you experiment on a pregnant woman and a child? Aren't you afraid of retribution? Huang Yu was so anxious that she was about to cry. She loudly explained, My senior sister was trying to save someone. Listen to me, the situation that night was very urgent. However, Huang Yu's voice was very soft and was covered by everyone's voices. No one listened to her explanation. Everyone, look, this woman admitted it. You evil woman, you killed my wife. I'm going to kill you today. After speaking, the man suddenly rushed forward and pounced on Huamin. Huamin dodged back, causing the man to miss. Huamin grabbed Huang Yu's shoulder and said, Hurry up and leave, I'll think of a way to escape. After she finished speaking, she pushed Huang Yu out of the encirclement. At this time, the pregnant woman's husband squeezed in again. While Huamin wasn't paying attention, he viciously pushed her to the ground. Chapter 172. Someone in the crowd screamed. Huamin felt like she had hit something on her head and it hurt a little. The hospital's security guards rushed out and started fighting with the patient's family members. The patient's family members seemed to be very agitated and wanted to hit Huamin. The sudden riot caused the scene to lose order. As a medical staff member, Huamin knew how to protect herself. She curled herself up in a corner and avoided all the important parts of her body. This chaotic scene lasted for about 3 minutes until the police car's siren sounded. The crowd gradually dispersed. The tabloid reporters ran away and the onlookers retreated. 3 police cars stopped in front of the first hospital. After receiving the call, Gao Ran rushed over with his men. He did not expect that the person involved in this riot was Huamin. Gao Ran reached out and wanted to help Huamin. However, Huamin did not reach out and stood up on her own. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, thank you." Gao Ran was still worried, so he asked 2 female police officers to escort Huamin to the hospital's emergency room. After doing a detailed examination and confirming that Huamin only had a bump on her head and nothing else, he was relieved. In the end, Gao Ran brought the patient's family members and Huamin back to the Municipal Public Security Bureau. Not long after, the video of the scene in front of the hospital spread. It was in high definition. The post went crazy on WeChat Moments. The title was "Black-Hearted Nurse Admits She Did It." Black-Hearted Hospital doesn't want to take responsibility, so they let security guards hit her. It was obvious that the post was on the patient's side this time. It criticized the hospital and Huamin's personal behavior. Inside a high-end clubhouse, a group of rich people were playing golf. As they took a break, they took out their phones to check their WeChat moments and discussed the incident enthusiastically. "This nurse is quite interesting." She admitted it on the spot. "It would be strange if she didn't get beaten up by the patient's family members." "Yeah, I think this nurse is an idiot too." "Ah, she's stupid. If it were me, I wouldn't admit it even if I was beaten to death." "Young Master Su, what do you think?" A few rich second-generation heirs looked respectfully at the young man who was wearing a white luxurious sportswear. He was drinking Evian's mineral water gracefully, and behind him were 2 tall beauties massaging his back. He wore a limited-edition Cartier ring on the middle finger of his right hand. His eyes were not big, but they were narrow and sharp. He didn't have the domineering aura of a king like Qin Chu. Instead, he had a kind of feminine and enchanting beauty. In short, he wasn't very handsome at first glance, but the second and third glance would gradually captivate people's souls. There was a saying in the aristocratic circle that no matter how beautiful a woman was, she couldn't resist young Master Su's affectionate gaze. It was said that when he looked at people seriously, his gaze was extremely seductive. It was like a trap that made people unable to extricate themselves from. He was the most distinguished of the 4 princes. Even Hu Xiqian had to treat him with respect. Suyu. Hearing someone ask him, Suyu put down the mineral water, opened the link on his WeChat moments and glanced at the video. He only said, "It's obvious that the family members are causing trouble, and that nurse should be more wrong than Do-yi, huh? No way. Isn't that nurse very bad? She's a black-hearted woman who privately operated on a pregnant woman." A few rich second-generation heirs didn't understand young Master Su's point of view. Suyu only sneered. "A lot of things aren't what they seem on the surface. In the future, use your brain more when you analyze things." After speaking, Suyu got up and walked towards the golf course. When Qin Chu received Gao Ran's call, he was in a video conference with the heads of his 7 subsidiaries. When he saw Gao Ran's call, he subconsciously pressed it. Gao Ran sent him another message. He lowered his head to read it, and his expression immediately changed. "Chu, your wife got into a dispute with someone and is at our police station. Do you want to come and bail her out?" Chapter 173. After seeing Gao Ran's message, Qin Chu couldn't stay calm anymore. He raised his hand and made a stop sign, interrupting the video conference that was in progress. On the other end of the video, all the presidents of the subsidiary companies didn't dare to make a sound. Assistant Yang sensibly turned off the video so that the president could make the call. Qin Chu immediately called Gao Ran back. "What's going on?" he asked coldly. "There was a riot at the entrance of the first hospital. I rushed over as soon as I received a call and saw that the person involved was Huamin. It seems like he got into a fight with the patient's family." "Is she okay?" Qin Chu felt his heart in his mouth. The words riot and fight made him extremely nervous. He was afraid that Huimin would get hurt. It's nothing serious, she just got a bump on her head. Before Gao Ran could finish, Qin Chu hung up the phone. Gao Ran, that brat, said it was nothing serious. How could a bump on her head not be serious? After Qin Chu hung up the phone, he felt terrible. His face immediately darkened. Assistant Yang, who was standing beside him, felt a gust of cold air. Tell everyone to end the video conference. I'm going out. Yes, sir. Assistant Yang had been working for Qin Chu for a while now. He wasn't stupid enough to ask the president what he was going to do. In Assistant Yang's opinion, the only thing that could make the president nervous was that woman with the surname Hua. Gao Ran, when can I leave? Huimin couldn't wait any longer. He wanted to go back to the hospital and see how things were going. After your family comes to bail you out. Bail me out? Huimin was a bit surprised. Yeah, Gao Ran replied as he wrote down the documents. Then I'll call my family right now and ask them to come over. Huimin thought that Jixin should come over. After all, it was just signing the papers. Unexpectedly, Gao Ran suddenly said, I've already called Qin Chu. Huimin was completely shocked. You called Qin Chu? Isn't he your family member? Gao Ran raised his head and asked. Huimin remained silent, thinking that Gao Ran seemed to already know about their relationship. It was no wonder that Gao Ran was Qin Chu's good friend. It was normal for him to know, just like her relationship with Zhu Lingling. Qin Chu arrived in less than 10 minutes. He ran 6 red lights along the way and even drove against the traffic for a while. As soon as he walked in, he walked towards Huimin and Gao Ran. When he left the company, he had already seen the video circulating on his WeChat friend circle and understood the violent incident that happened in front of the first hospital. Here. Come and sign the papers. Gao Ran waved his hand. Qin Chu walked over. He first glanced at Huimin and said in a deep voice, Wait for me. Then he looked at Gao Ran and asked, Where are the patient's family members? Oh, they're over there. I only caught one of them and didn't do anything to the others. I just taught them a lesson and let them go. Before Gao Ran could finish, he saw Qin Chu walk towards the room where the patients were being held. Hey Chu, where are you going? I'm not done yet, Gao Ran yelled behind him. When Qin Chu walked over, he loosened the tie around his neck and kicked the door open with a bang. At this moment, the pregnant woman's husband was leaning against the wall with a sloppy look on his face. Who are you? The man asked impatiently as he looked at Qin Chu. Without saying anything, Qin Chu walked over, picked him up and punched him. The man's nose was bleeding. Chapter 174. Who are you? What right do you have to hit me? The man yelled. Qin Chu didn't care and kept punching the guy, giving him a good beating. Gao Ran and Huimin rushed over when they heard the squeal. Gao Ran pulled Qin Chu away. It was Huimin's first time seeing Qin Chu so fierce. He beat the guy up so badly that he couldn't even defend himself. Moreover, the man didn't even have the strength to fight back. As an aristocrat, Qin Chu had been practicing martial arts since he was young. He knew all kinds of fighting styles such as Taekwondo, Muay Thai, Wing Chun, Sanda and grappling. With Qin Chu's talent, it could be said that his skills were comparable to that of a martial arts master. It was not something that the guy could handle. After the guy was beaten up, he lay on the ground and couldn't get up. His head looked like a pig's head. Gao Ran was dumbfounded. He had known Qin Chu for many years, but he had never seen him so angry. It seemed that the guy was looking for trouble this time. Touching Huimin was more unacceptable than hitting Qin Chu himself. That's enough, bro. Why do you have to fight with trash like him? Hearing Gao Ran's advice, Qin Chu didn't say anything. He just looked at the guy on the ground coldly. Just you wait. I'm going to sue you for intentional injury. The guy said through gritted teeth. Very well, I'll wait for your lawsuit. After speaking, Qin Chu turned around. Qin Chu, let's go back. Qin Chu didn't say anything. Instead, he suddenly picked up Huimin and walked out. Hey, you didn't sign the papers and you took her away? Gao Ran yelled behind him. Qin Chu ignored her and put Huimin in the passenger seat. After asking her to fasten her seat belt, he sped away. You are dead. Gao Ran pointed at the man lying on the ground and said sympathetically. He really wanted to ask him. The world was so big and there were so many people. Why did he provoke Qin Chu? Messing with Qin Chu himself was still acceptable. But why did he have to mess with Qin Chu's wife? Qin Chu was a total wife con. You policemen hit people, I want to sue you. The man wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said fiercely, "The person who hit you just now wasn't a police officer. Can you please have some common sense? Those are the family members of the victims. Then when he hit me, why didn't you police stop him? How could you let him barge in without permission? I can't even guarantee my safety at the police station. It's your police dereliction of duty. I want to complain." Seeing how the man was still so arrogant after being hit, Gao Ran said helplessly, "People like you with your IQ will never survive past half an episode in a harem drama." On the way, Qin Chu didn't say anything. No matter what Huamin said, he didn't respond. He only had an expression on his face. He looked straight ahead and completely ignored Huamin's existence. Huamin knew that he was angry, but she was confused. Why would he be angry? "Qin Chu, what do you want to eat for lunch?" Qin Chu didn't say anything. "Qin Chu, you don't have to go to work today. Why don't you stop in front and I'll go back myself? You can go back to the company." Qin Chu still didn't say anything. "Qin Chu?" Huamin still wanted to say something. However, Qin Chu turned his head and looked at her as if he wanted to eat her alive. She forcefully swallowed the second half of her sentence and didn't dare to say anything else. After Qin Chu parked his car in the parking lot downstairs, he looked straight ahead and asked coldly, "Why is it that every time something happens to you, the first person you think of isn't me?" After Huamin heard this, she was speechless. "Is it because you think that I'm not important to you? Is that why no matter what danger you encounter, you don't tell me first and consider my feelings?" Qin Chu said each word clearly. Every word that came out of his mouth made his heart bleed. Huamin was injured. Huamin was searched. Huamin's video was exposed. Huamin was sent to the police station. She never mentioned any of these things, not even a word. Qin Chu suddenly felt that ever since they got married, everything seemed to be his wishful thinking. After hearing Qin Chu's words, Huamin's expression changed again and again. Chapter 175. "Qin Chu, it's not like that. I just don't want you to worry about me. Why don't you just tell me that I'll always be an outsider to you?" "It's not like that." In the end, the two of them sat in the car in silence for a minute. Neither of them spoke. Qin Chu didn't speak because he was angry. Huamin didn't speak because he didn't know how to explain himself. Huamin felt a slight pain in her head. She reached out to touch it and frowned. Ouch. She couldn't help but make a sound, probably because she was in pain. At that moment, Qin Chu's heart softened. After he got out of the car, he held Huamin's hand and went upstairs. Then he found a first aid kit at home and disinfected Huamin's wound. He gently brushed Huamin's long hair aside. There was a purple bump on the upper left side of her head. It was obvious that it was a bruise. Qin Chu's heart ached. "Hang in there, I'll use iodophor to disinfect it." Huamin nodded. Qin Chu dipped a cotton swab in iodophor to disinfect it. Then he wrapped a boiled egg and placed it on her head. "I'll do it myself. You should go to work. I know what's important." "I don't need you to remind me," Qin Chu said in annoyance. Huamin immediately fell silent. Today, Qin Chu was as scary as if he had eaten gunpowder. Especially when he was at the police station, he was even scarier when he hit the man. She even thought that if Gao Ran didn't pull him away, he would have beaten the man to death. Qin Chu took out his phone and called Yang. He told him that he wouldn't be coming over in the afternoon and that he would postpone everything at the company. Then he opened his laptop and sat down with Huamin on the sofa in the living room. They looked at the news on the forum. There must be someone behind this for this incident to worsen so quickly. "I don't think the patient's family has the ability to do so," Qin Chu stated as he scrolled through the forum. Huamin nodded in agreement. "I think so too. There must be someone behind this which led to the situation worsening. They seem to have a plan this time. I don't know why the news was suppressed by the media. Maybe our director did something? Do you think he'd be the director? If he's that?" Qin Chu glanced at her. "Yes, I did." Huamin nodded and continued, "I have a bad relationship with Wu Xiaoxua, a doctor from the OB-GYN department. She wanted to fire me a long time ago, but the director didn't approve of it. She's the director's niece, so she's a tyrant in the hospital. Many people don't like her, but she especially hates me." "I don't think a doctor would hate a nurse for no reason," Qin Chu calmly analyzed. Huamin coughed and said in a low voice, She's Ning Ziyuan's girlfriend now, so? Who's Ning Ziyuan? Qin Chu never seemed to pay attention to names like these. Ahem. Ning Ziyuan is the person I was going to marry. Huamin tried her best to answer in a roundabout way. As expected, Qin Chu's face darkened when he heard this. You really know how to cause trouble for yourself. You already know they're working at the hospital, can't you just switch to another one? Qin Chu was displeased. I didn't think she would hate me so much. But there's still something fishy about this. I don't think Wu Xiaoxue did it. Who else could it be? Qin Chu was confused. Huamin nodded. I just think that no matter how brainless Wu Xiaoxue is, she wouldn't play around with the hospital's reputation. After all, she still has to work and her uncle will be affected. Maybe she's just trying to hurt herself and her enemy, Qin Chu guessed. Huamin shook his head again. With Wu Xiaoxue's personality, she wouldn't do something like that. Although she's arrogant and willful, she's not extreme. She wouldn't do something like hurting herself and her enemy at the same time. Plus, once this gets exposed, people will start searching for her. As the doctor on duty that night, she'll be exposed for skipping work. When that happens, she'll be like me, standing at the center of the storm. Qin Chu felt that Huamin's words made sense. He nodded, thought for a moment and asked again. Then other than Wu Xiaoxue, do you have any other suspects?